It's day one on the Grampians Peaks Trail, or is it the Werdug Peaks Trail? I'm actually starting the day by doing a little bit of a side trip to ascend the unofficial start of the track, Mount Zero. And the reason I wanted to come up here is because I wanted to pay my respects and acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Jabwurrung Yadwajali, and introduce myself on this lands that were never ceded. Now this is the official start to the Grampians Peaks Trail. And we're off. Ooh, you've really got to love ascents and descents on rocky and uneven terrain. So hey, if you're planning on doing the GPT, I reckon a couple of months, 6 weeks of solid stair training with a pack, and you'll enjoy it so much more. One of the things about this track is that it's pretty exposed the whole way along the top of this kind of, think of it like a dragon's back kind of ridge walk. So thinking about somewhere to have lunch, not much cover up top, so I'm going to take advantage and duck into an overhang in a cave and have a nice cool break. And knowing how changeable that the weather can be up here, being prepared for all sorts of weather in super exposure is pretty important. So what I'm learning right now is you've got to keep an eye out for those little yellow triangles, because I can see in some places people have missed the direction arrows. Yeah, I'm not giving you the finger here, sorry. Eyes up. This is quite a beautiful shelter, and inside, heavy door, good idea, keep animals out. There's a phone charging station, and you don't need the plug, just the cable. So it's perfect for cooking in bad weather. Man, nice to have tables and chairs. It's about 8:30 in the morning, and another cracking day. This is my favourite time of the day to be walking. I set my alarm for 6:30, and now it means that I get that little pinch of an ascent done before the heat of the day kicks in. The Grampians Peaks Trail split into 3 sections, and this section, the north, runs from Mount Zero car park all the way down to Hall's Gap. So I feel like I'm in the middle of absolute nowhere, but Rose's Gap Road is just down there, which is actually one of the cool things about this trip, because it means that there's lots of different access points to maybe start and finish in different locations, do shorter sections, or find an exit if you need to get out in a hurry. You might be wondering, well, how difficult is the GPT? Because if you just saw this kind of track behind me, you'd think, doddle. Not the case. Grade 3 and grade 4 on the Australian walking track grading system. And if you're not sure what that means, it's a really good idea to check it out while you're planning and prepping to work out, is the GPT really for you? You can call me Sweaty Betty. The color of so to put the altitude climb into context, that equals 165 flights of stairs with a full pack. in the sun. But you know the great thing about big climbs like this? It means great views. And rumour has it that the view and sunset from this campsite at Gar is one of the best. Blue with a view. This is also one of the campgrounds where there is the option to go for a little bit more of a supported, oh, look where you're going, Caro, a little bit more of a supported experience. And I can tell you, these are not super high-end luxury lodge type kind of thing. So if you're thinking that, it's not this. So today's section, Gar to Werdug, is listed as grade 4 and it's one of the longest so far. And I can see that there's no water points between here and there. So for one of the longest days and a grade 4, I needed to plan ahead my water capacity using the serviced water tanks from the trailhead way back at Rose's Gap Road yesterday. And look, this is one of the most important things to plan for in the GPT, because Parks Vic can't guarantee that there'll be any water in the tanks at the remote hike-in campgrounds. So check out the list of serviced water tanks on the Parks Vic website. Currently playing Spotto for route triangles, and I reckon it's here somewhere, so I'm just going to take my time. One there. Boom. Way up there, I can see one. Now I can't unsee them. After a pretty hot and sweaty day, got salt crust everywhere, I've arrived at Werdug Hut. So I'm walking this in mid-March, and today's temp was 22 high, and given the full exposure and the reflected heat from the rocks, it certainly felt a lot hotter. So you got to wonder, when is actually going to be the best time of year to walk the GPT? I would reckon it would be pretty spicy to do in summer, and I wouldn't recommend it. What's different about tonight is that I get to sleep in one of the Parks Vic owned huts. It's a pretty basic hiker hut. This is not luxury lodge at all, and it sleeps 4 people.
So we're here to basically have a sample of what it's like to stay on one of the guided walks in the on-park huts that can basically give you a short taster of what the GPT is, but still having the comforts of a nice comfy mattress, walls and a roof, and of course accompanied by some lovely cheese and a glass of wine. So this huts walk is basically the most accessible guided tour on the GPT, so it's the shortest itinerary at 2 nights, 3 days. It is still a fairly challenging walk, so there's a couple of tough days of walking in there. But the amount of support that can be provided and the comfort of the camps and the level of food just make it accessible to more people. So we actually get a lot of people that have done a lot of walking but not necessarily overnight walks. But on top of that, we run our hiker support services. So for independent walkers that are looking to come and do the trail by themselves, we run a shuttle that takes you from one end of the trail to the other. We do food drops for longer walks, as well as gear rental if you've got any shortages.
Something that I appreciate about the work that guides do is this whole piece about education. So educating clients about things like leave no trace, and even things about like rubbish. You're talking about, you know, you've had clients in the past where they think they can just throw their fruit peels out.
Plastic banana peel, apple core, it's no good.
For some people who haven't got a lot of experience in the bush, that's going to be news to them, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with the increased volume of people coming to our parks, people wanting to connect, you know, in meaningful ways to these natural places, how are they going to learn unless someone teaches them? I can see why the northern section would be the most popular, because it certainly is the one with the most infrastructure, you know, those camp platforms and shelters at every campsite, and the couple of huts as well. But all that changes for the central and the southern section, where things get a little more spicy. So close. If I had any doubt, I'm back in civilization. So what can I tell you about the first section? Astoundingly beautiful. I had such a great time, especially day 2. That was definitely my favourite. The campgrounds are fantastic. So those beautiful award-winning shelters that have been built, the camping platforms, you'll find it a lot easier if you have a freestanding tent to set up. In terms of how hard it is, I can tell you that it's definitely a solid 4. What is really smart about having this stop here in Halls Gap is that if you're not sure if it's the full track for you or if you want to continue, it really gives you an option to test out your gear, test out your body, test out your food, the way you're doing things, and test out those feet to make sure that is the rest of the track for you. And that brings me to communications. So even though there was mobile phone coverage for some of day 1, not much for day 2, day 3 today, in and out as well. So having some form of emergency comms, like a PLB, a personal locator beacon, or even a Zoleo, like a, oh, where is it? Here it is. So this is a satellite communication device. That kind of way you can get two-way communications with your loved ones or with an emergency contact in case something happens. I'm going to be doing some separate videos on how to prepare for the Grampians Peaks Trail. So that's going to be things like preparing your pack and your gear, what you're going to take, preparing your body, and the last one's going to be preparing logistics. So how to go about organising this, and you know, do you do food drops, do you not, and the transport. So thanks for watching through section 1 of this Grampians Peaks Trail video, and I cannot wait to start section 2 tomorrow. Actually, I can wait because I'm off to stay in a motel that's just over there, have myself a shower, and then go into town and get a good feed and a cold beer.